Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astota Shatashishi Mad is Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astota Shatashishi Mad is Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnavrind Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Sankirtan Yagi Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Lotus feet of Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 8, text 29. Na Veda Keshchid Bhagavam Chikirshitam Tave Hamanasya Nirnam Vidambanam Na Yasya Kashchid Ayatosti Karichit Dvaishyascha Yasmin Vishamamatir Nirnam Naveda Kashchid Bhagavam Chikirshitam Tave Hamana Sarinam Vidambanam Nayasya Kashchid Ayatosti Karhichid Dreshyascha Yasmin Vishimamatir Nrinam Naveda Kashid Bhagavam Chikirshitam Tave Hamana Sarinam Vidambanam Nayasya Kashid Dayatosti Kardichid Dveshascha Yasmin Vishamamatirninam. Please chant. Mataji's, please. Anyone else? No? Okay. Word for word, please repeat. Na. Does not. Veda. No. Kaschit. Anyone. Bhagavan. O Lord. Chikirshitam. Pastimes. Tava. Your. Ihamanasya. Like the worldly men. Nrinam. Of the people in general. Vidambanam. Misleading. Na. Never. Yasya. His. Kaschit. Anyone. Dayataha. Object of specific favor. Asti. There is. Karhichit. Anywhere. Dveshyaha. Object of envy. Cha. And. Yasmin. Unto him. Vishama. Partiality. Matihi. Conception. Nrinam. Of the people. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and are so misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial. Please repeat, O Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and are so misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial. Purport. The Lord's mercy upon the fallen souls is equally distributed. He has no one as the specific object of hostility. The very conception of the personality of Godhead as a human being is misleading. His pastimes appear to be exactly like a human being's, but actually they are transcendental and without any tinge of material contamination. He is undoubtedly known as partial to his pure devotees, but in fact he is never partial, as much as the sun is never partial to anyone. By utilizing the sun rays, sometimes even the stones become valuable, whereas a blind man cannot see the sun, although there are enough sun rays before him. Darkness and light are two opposite conceptions, but this does not mean that the sun is partial in distributing its rays. The sun rays are open to everyone, but the capacities of the receptacles differ. Foolish people think that devotional service is flattering the Lord to get special mercy. Factually, the pure devotees who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord are not a mercantile community. A mercantile house renders service to someone in exchange for values. The pure devotee does not render service unto the Lord for such exchange, and therefore the full mercy of the Lord is open for him. Suffering and needy men, inquisitive persons, or philosophers make temporary connections with the Lord to serve a particular purpose. When the purpose is served, there is no more relation with the Lord. A suffering man, if he is pious at all, prays to the Lord for his recovery. But as soon as the recovery is over, in most cases, the suffering man no longer cares to keep any connection with the Lord. The mercy of the Lord is open for him, but he is reluctant to receive it. That is the difference between a pure devotee and a mixed devotee. Those who are completely against the service of the Lord are considered to be in abject darkness. Those who ask for the Lord's favor only at the time of necessity are partial recipients of the mercy of the Lord. And those who are 100% engaged in the service of the Lord are full recipients of the mercy of the Lord. So partiality in receiving the Lord's mercy is relative to the recipients, and it is not due to the partiality of the all-merciful Lord. When the Lord descends on this material world by his all-merciful energy, he plays like a human being, and therefore it appears that the Lord is partial to his devotees only. But that is not a fact. Despite such apparent manifestations of partiality, his mercy is equally distributed. In the battlefield of Kurukshetra, all persons who died in the fight before the presence of the Lord got salvation without the necessary qualifications, because death before the presence of the Lord purifies the passing soul from the effects of all sins, and therefore the dying man gets a place somewhere in the transcendental abode. Somehow or other, if someone puts himself open in the sun rays, he is sure to get the requisite benefit, both by heat and by ultraviolet rays. Therefore, the conclusion is that the Lord is never partial. It is wrong for the people in general to think of him as partial. Verse one more time. Naveda kashid bhagavam chikirshitam tabe hamanasyanenam vidambanam nayasya kashid daitosti karhichit dveshyasti yasmin vishama matirninam. O Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and are so misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial. Om Agana Tamindasya Gananjana Shalakoya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swabhadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Paragamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijanam Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vrishabhanu Sade Devi Pranamami Hare Briye Vanchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavembhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So before I begin, I want to thank everyone for being here and taking Krishna consciousness so serious, that going to the morning program every day, trying to become absorbed in these divine teachings given to us by the previous acharyas. And before I speak also, we should give a prayer to Sura Prabhu, because his health is not so good. That's why he was scheduled to give class, but he's not able to. So by Archita's mercy, I am given this opportunity to serve and try to give a class on Srimad Bhagavatam. So Queen Kunti is praying here that no one can understand Krishna's transcendental pastimes. That although he appears to be a human, he is actually transcendental to anything in this mundane world. And the way that I like to think of transcendental is, when sometimes I imagine myself under water, and in the water I can't see what's above the water, and even if I try to, everything looks so blurry. So those who are above the water, those who are not submerged in the three modes of material nature, those personalities are transcendental. Those personalities are transcendental. And according to the modes of material nature that one is contaminated by, the blurriness of the objects outside of the water will become more and more dark. If someone's in the mode of ignorance, trying to see what's above the water is very difficult. It's basically almost black. You can't see anything except the black water. And for those in the modes of passion, there might be some idea that there's something there. And in the mode of goodness, one can actually see there might be some form and movement above the water. But to actually understand what's above the water, you have to come to the platform of transcendence. And that means rising above the three modes of material nature and peeking your head out of the water and saying, there's Ashuddha Sattva, pure goodness. And one does this only by the mercy of those who are actually above the water. If we pray out to the Lord and we pray out to these transcendental beings who are above the three modes, they'll help us. This is actually what pure devotional service means. In this purport, it explains how there is mixed devotional service and there's pure devotional service. And we can see in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's so many examples of demigods, although we should respect them in all sense, and they are great personalities in charge of universal affairs, but still, they have some material desire to enjoy this world. It's almost inconceivable in how one can understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that you're His servant, but you still have some material desires to hang on to in this world. But there's also examples in Srimad Bhagavatam of personalities who are completely pure in heart, that although they're going through a tough situation here like Queen Kunti, still they have no desire to be free from these conflicts and these struggles that they're going through, but instead they cry out to the Lord and they just want to serve Him. This Krishna says in the 18th chapter Bhagavad Gita that this is actually the perfection of life. Sarva dharma prityaja mame kamsharanam vraja aham tum sarva papebhyo mokshasya syami ma suchaha. Just abandon all religions, all varieties of what you think is the best thing to do in this world for your own enjoyment, and just surrender 100% completely to the Lord. And, at least for myself, and I've seen it maybe in others, that, we read so many things in Shastra, and it's easy to accept some things, and although we theoretically accept other things, we don't fully have faith in it. For example, Krishna teaches us over and over again, and Prabhupada teaches us how we're not this material body, or an eternal spirit soul. Theoretically, we can accept that It makes sense to us. Logically, it explains in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. But also, there's statements that, to attain full enlightenment, we have to control our mind and our senses. We theoretically understand that also. But we don't, if one's not fully accepting that as a fact, it's very hard to follow that path. It could be a struggle. For example, okay, I read I should control my mind and senses to become fully Krishna conscious, but then I'm out on Sankirtan and my mind is uncontrolled, my senses are uncontrolled. So does this mean that I don't have full faith in the Shastra? In one aspect, it could be like that. So why not accept everything we read 100%? If we have faith in Prabhupada but not faith in the Shastra, then it's going to be a struggle to actually advance in spiritual life. So what's holding us back? The only thing that's holding us back is our false ego. The sense that there is some material enjoyment in this world, that I will be happy if I stay in this world and try to enjoy the objects of the senses. Well, we can also see in Srimad Bhagavatam, like, what's his name? Vritasura, he was Chitraketu Maharaj got cursed to become a demon, and instead of praying to the Lord or trying to counteract the curse, he accepted it as Krishna's mercy, that this is the pure devotee accepts everything, that this specific situation is given to me for my own benefit, for my own advancement in life. So Chitraketu Maharaj accepted this curse to become a demon. And although he was a demon, he became Vritasura, externally it seems like he was completely out of his mind. He was even killing innocent people, seemingly, and he was doing this because it was actually, the Lord had a bigger plan. So Vritasura, Chitraketu Maharaj, was playing the role of a demon. And even though people didn't like him, people despised him, no one liked him in the form of the demon, still he accepted that position that Krishna gave him. So in the same way, we should apply these things to our own life. We're given a mission to spread Krishna consciousness. Whether people like us or not, it shouldn't matter to us. Our mind always gets in the way that we want people to respect us. We want people to honor us. We want everyone to, give us friendship. But, when we're preaching, we can see that that's not always the case. There's atheistic people. There's people who don't want our books. There's people who cuss at us and tell us to go away. So, accepting this as the position that Krishna has given me and move on and perform our service as a matter of duty, this will give us the most benefit to purify our heart and bring us to the platform where we are actually imbibing the teachings of Queen Kunti in Srimad Bhagavatam, that we're imbibing and following what Krishna is telling us in the Bhagavad Gita to fully surrender. Like in the 10th canto, there's when Krishna goes to Dwarka, I think it was Satyajit who had the Shamantaka jewel, and if I remember correctly, his brother he was very attached to the jewel, Satyajit was, and his brother one time, because the jewel was very special, it was known that if you had this jewel, you can have massive wealth, you'll be protected. So Satyajit's brother took that jewel and he went out on a voyage one day on horseback, and for protection he brought the jewel. But somehow or another, it was either a lion or a tiger attacked him and killed him. And so his brother Satyajit's brother didn't come back with the jewel that day. And he was wondering what happened, why is it taking him for so long? And through mental concoction and mental speculation, he assumed that Krishna actually killed his brother, stole the jewel for his own self, and he was spreading rumors throughout Dwarka that Krishna killed my brother and stole the jewel. And this rumor was actually spreading through Dwarka. People were talking about it. And just for the sake of Krishna to clear his name, he went and he went to go find the jewel. And if you all know the story, he saw Jambavan had the jewel, he found it, and gave it to his child to play with, and there was a big fight. But after all this happened, Krishna brought the jewel back and gave it to Satyajit, and Satyajit was so embarrassed that he accused Krishna for this horrible act. And so like this, we can see just through mental speculation and mental concoction, so many rumors can spread around. And, offenses to Vaishnavas, offenses to gurus, on the internet, so many awful things are spread around just because people with a contaminated heart, with speculating about so many things, are pointing their fingers at great Vaishnavas and blaming them on so many things that are untrue. So one should not become bewildered by this, but this is actually could be a big detrimental obstacle in one's spiritual life. Just to hear these things will, instead of purifying our heart, which is what we're supposed to do by hearing and chanting, it will actually contaminate our heart more and more. So I actually had this one time, I was in Santa Monica Pier, and it's so amazing that there's so many people passing by, and there's these Buddhist monks, and what they do there, they stand there and they stop people, and they put like a little bracelet on someone, and they act like it's free, and then they beg for money for the bracelet, and if someone doesn't pay money, then they take the bracelet away. And I see so many people walking by, they're becoming kind of angry at these Buddhist monks, and then they see me dressed like this, and they're like, "Hey, are you with those guys?" I have nothing to do with those guys. And so they were coming up and getting books and leaving donations. And it was so amazing to see how by trying to avoid bad association and trying to follow the process sincerely, that Krishna will use anybody, even an insignificant jiva like myself, who just a few years ago was completely contaminated, or still uncontaminated, but was completely performing sinful activities, can use anybody and everybody as an instrument if they just try to sincerely surrender. And it's so amazing just to see everything unfold and watch Lord Chaitanya give his mercy to everyone. And we can see how Krishna is very tricky, actually. He's very tricky in giving the conditioned souls mercy. And for example, one time there was this older man, he was probably about in his 60s or 70s, and he had a younger Mataji with him, and she was Spanish and he was a white man, and she was about maybe in her 30s, and I could tell what was going on. This guy was probably rich, and she was with him because he had money. And she was interested in the book. She came up to our table, and the guy could care less. He was just standing there, and the lady was so excited. She was glorifying the books, and I was showing her the pictures, and she said, "I really, really want one." And the old man was just like kind of neutral, and he's like, "Yeah, you want one?" She's like, "Yeah, can you please buy me a book?" And he gave me $50, and she took all the books home. So I was just seeing how Lord Chaitanya is so tricky. This person who would not at all interested in devotional service actually engaged in devotional service because of his lust, because of Krishna used his lust to actually engage him in devotional service. So we can see this also, this in the 10th canto, even like the maidservants of Vrindavan, the cowherd women, out of some of them were lusty towards Krishna, and because of this they became purified. It describes that there's different types of cowherd women, and some are not nitya siddhas. Some are exalted personalities who performed austerities in this world, and before they can go and enjoy with Krishna, they were held back in their homes, and from this anxiety and this lamentation of not being able to come to Krishna, it actually purified the rest of the contamination in their heart, so that later they were able to go and play with Krishna ecstatically. So this is our position also. Are we ready to go back to the spiritual world? And we should question ourselves every day. Is my heart, is my mind pure enough to actually go back? If we went back right now, at least for myself, most people in this world would not be ready. We would actually cause disturbance to the spiritual world. You know, if you're looking at someone lusty or you're doing something mischievous, or it doesn't go along with Krishna's pastime. So that's the reason why we're here. We can look at this as a punishment, as a rectification, but we can also look at this process that we're going through in this material world as a way to actually develop our yearning and our deep attachment out of separation with Krishna. And in one sense, you know, Krishna says this in Kurukshetra when Nanda Maharaj and all the people of Vrindavan, the people of Dwarka, they meet up for a solar eclipse. Krishna explains to the gopis something very philosophical. He explains, actually, you're feeling separation from me, but in one sense, you're never separated from me, because everything's my energy. I'm within every atom. Everything's coming from me. You yourselves are part and parcel of me. So the fact that you're feeling separation means you're in illusion. So we see that even the pure devotees, they're in Maya. They're in complete Maya, actually, but they're in Yoga Maya. That, you know, it's funny how the non-devotees, they don't believe that Krishna is God. But also the pure devotees don't think that Krishna is God either. The pure devotees of Vrindavan. I've been reading lately a book called Nectar Book Distribution. Maybe a lot of people know of it. Vijay's in there, he has a few quotes. And it explains how, you know, the European countries back in the 80s were in a time of communism, heavy police oppression, and many of them were arrested and put into prison and tortured, and a couple of devotees actually left their bodies this way. Very sad. But it actually made the devotees stronger in the sense that they had an urgency. They had a reason to actually work together and feel like that they were actually doing something tangible by spreading this movement and trying to overcome the government. So in the U.S. nowadays, we don't have that type of obstacle. Actually, in one sense, like I was saying earlier, it was the greatest blessing they can have, because they became stronger as devotees. They took the movement much more serious. So in the U.S. now, yeah, everything's basically legal. You're not going to get arrested unless you're doing something like ridiculous. You could walk down the street with dhoti and kurta, no one's going to say anything. But we're actually facing in my opinion, we're facing an even greater enemy than police oppression, than external obstacle. We're facing this relaxed mood where everything's okay. It's kind of the sense in the U.S. especially that I'm all good, it's okay. Now I'm Krishna conscious. Now I'm going back to Godhead. Then I'm good. But this can actually hamper our spiritual advancement. It can hamper the movement from spreading. And the people nowadays, they are not interested in spiritual life. They can care less about Krishna. They can care less about becoming free from karma, if they even believe in karma. So this is actually a bigger obstacle that we're fighting illusion, that we're fighting complete degradation of the consciousness. So just like in London, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I think it was, I don't know what year it was, I think in the 50s or something like that, he sent two or three sannyasis to London to preach. And after they were even funded by a good amount of Lakshmi. And although they went to preach the message of Lord Chaitanya, they seemingly externally weren't so successful. I think they made 1 or 2 devotees, which is good. But they came back after a while, many months, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was actually disappointed in them, that they didn't achieve what he was expecting. That Lord Chaitanya is so merciful, that he's Patita Pavana, he's the deliverer of the fallen souls. So his mercy could be expanded everywhere. It's unlimited. But the so-called best sannyasis that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had didn't get much accomplished. But if we fast forward to the 1960s, Srila Prabhupada had 3 devotee couples, Shama Sundar, Guru Das, and Mukunda, and Yamuna, Malati, and Janaki Machaji, went to London, and within a few short months actually spread the movement all over the country. Before Srila Prabhupada even came to London, Hare Krishna was well known. They had a record with the Beatles. They were doing Harinam. Tamal Krishna Maharaj was sent there. He set up the Sankirtan Harinam party. They were distributing back to Godheads. And when Prabhupada came for the first time, he came to London, and there were a handful of devotees just from these 3 couples. There was a Hare Krishna record playing on the public radio. There were Hare Krishna banners. The Beatles knew of George Harrison was a devotee. So we can see that Srila Prabhupada is in the mood of Queen Kunti, is understanding the desperation of this world, that this world is on fire, that the Acharya actually comes and pours the rain of mercy on this world to actually set out the fire and give relief to the souls who are burning in this Kali Yuga. So when Srila Prabhupada came to London, of course he was so happy with his disciples. So in the same way, we can also become dear to the previous Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada if we sincerely carry out this mission and spread the holy names to every town and village. And there was once I think I said this in a previous class, but there was one Mataji who was distributing books, and she was coming back to the temple to a festival, and she got hit by a vehicle and passed away, and Srila Prabhupada was very sad that this happened. But he said that because of her service of trying to please the previous Acharya, she went back to Godhead. So we can see that even for the devotees' lives, old age, disease, and death can actually become a blissful experience, a way to surrender more and more to Krishna, and a transitional period back to the spiritual world. Whereas old age, disease, and death for materialistic people are a horrible phenomenon. So instead of not being compassionate and looking at so many conditioned souls walking through the street and thinking that I have so many other things to do, why don't we go and talk to them? In the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, Krishna says that the wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So what does this actually mean? Why does the wise not lament for the living or the dead? Shouldn't the wise people be compassionate? But Prabhupada and Krishna explains that true compassion is actually for the soul. That to save the dress of a drowning man is not going to actually benefit anyone. Someone's drowning in the ocean, and you just save his shirt, and you lift up the shirt and say, hey, I saved the shirt. The person's still suffering. So the wise person is saying from an enlightened perspective that the soul is eternal. To give Krishna to the conditioned soul is true compassion. And someone who argues against this fact actually isn't analyzing from a proper perspective. Because if someone is so-called compassionate and they think that everyone's their body, then there's no chance, if you're enjoying or happy at all in this life, means you're not actually compassionate. Because if you think that people are their body, everywhere people are diseased, they're suffering like anything, and they're dying. So this is actually an artificial type of compassion, being compassionate for the body. So that's all I can really think of saying for now. If anybody has any questions, they're more than welcome to ask, or any discussions or corrections? So, someone please raise their hand. Okay. Carlos?
Um, you know, I understand that, but I just want to, because faith is like a yes, must be there, but also is a gradual process. You had the faith because you are out on books, so I just want to maybe hear something more about it. What do you think about this? Because sometimes we're working towards that goal, but you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah, there's different different aspects to look at almost everything. So what I presented was one aspect of looking at. To my understanding, his question is, when I said in the beginning of the class that when we accept some things in the Shastra, but some things we don't accept. For example, okay, Krishna's God, we accept that, but to control your mind and senses to actually become Krishna conscious, we can see throughout the day that we're not controlling our mind and senses, at least for some people. So does that mean that we're not actually have full faith in the Shastra, although Krishna says that many, many times in the Bhagavad Gita? And his question was, would you like to repeat it?
well, the point that I'm trying to make to see is the difference in between our faith and our capacity to control our senses.
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. Yeah, even though we could be sincere in trying to control our mind, our senses, trying to become Krishna conscious, we have this mountain of anarthas in our heart. And when I say we, I mean me and maybe a few others here. We have this thin veneer of Krishna consciousness, but then behind that, a big mountain of anarthas. It's like a monster, like a green monster, just always there. Just at any moment, he'll attack us and open our eyes when we're not supposed to look at something, or throw something in our mind where we're not supposed to. We're supposed to have pure thoughts. So yeah, actually, a sincere devotee will struggle to control his mind and senses, and at first it could be difficult because of our anarthas, but we should sincerely try. And what makes it easier is we hear it over and over again, and this is also an example of hearing something but not having full faith. We hear that there's no new formula that someone's going to give you. If you go to any senior devotee and ask, how am I going to control my mind and senses? They're not going to make up some new formula. It's the same thing. Chanting and reading attentively and engaging in devotional service. And waking up early, associating with devotees. That's all there is. That's the best process. That is the best. That's the most special process. But to the degree that we're doing that attentively and intensely and sincerely, Krishna will empower us to control our mind and senses. Actually, we can't do anything. We're Jiva soul, we're marginal energy. Maya Shakti is Krishna's energy. So she's much more powerful than us. So to say that we control our mind and senses, that's also a sense of false pride. That Krishna is actually giving us the power to control our mind and senses. The spiritual master is. So to the degree that we're hearing and chanting attentively, Krishna will empower us. And even if, for newer devotees, if you're going through a struggle and you're going through a tough time, the way that I think about it when I'm going through a tough time is I look into the future. Say, okay, I'm going through a tough time right now, but what about in a year from now? If I'm able to just tolerate this difficulty I'm going through, in a year this will be completely forgotten. I'll be in bliss again. I'll be engaged in devotional service. So tolerance also, tolerating the mind and senses. And Amala Bhakta Swami Maharaj always tells me that never make a decision when you're going through a tough time, because that's when most people actually make radical mistakes and do something in their spiritual life that will damage their life in the future. And we could see this in so many ways. Someone gets angry or something and they shoot someone. Just from that acting on an emotion for that split second, or those few minutes, they killed a person, and they're ruining their life, because now they're stuck in prison for the rest of their life. Where if they just tolerated that emotion, they tolerated that pulling of the mind and senses, when it goes away, then it's all good. So, is that okay?
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Hare Krishna.